Welcome, everybody. I am Jesse Mogul, and thank you for joining us on the American Contingency Podcast. We are a united nationwide community of steadfast Americans ready for any challenge that comes our way. We inform, equip, and train so you can prepare for any man-made or natural disaster or situation through your actively involved membership in American Contingency. You will grow through others sharing their knowledge and experiences with you and reciprocating back that sharing to them. And as always, it is an honor and a privilege to have you here for the next 30 minutes or so. I'm trying out a new intro. We recently changed one of our mottos. So we have got two. It's inform, equip, and train. And you've heard me say that multiple times at the beginning of this show. And then we would say prepare, respond, and recover. And so we're shifting that now to prepare, grow, and share. And so part of that is just acclimating myself to the new introduction. And I'm not really sure that I'm keen on the way I laid it out, but I thought I'd give it a go and see what it sounded like on the microphone. And one of the things that I think is extremely interesting whenever we start talking about a membership at American Contingency is how would one become actively involved? Right? We talk about preparing, responding, and recovering, and informing, and equipping, and training. And when we talk about training, we put a lot of emphasis on that when we've had people come over to the show and do interviews and such. And I've had a really remarkable opportunity to start meeting some other members, especially up in the Northeast region, and just hearing how they help each other train and they're sharing their knowledge and experiences and how other people are growing because of the information that they're sharing. And so one of the things that I have noticed from actively seeking out new ways of becoming involved myself with American Contingency was how many of the aspects of the website that I was relatively unfamiliar with. And when I started to do a quick little poll of some of the people who are rather new to American Contingency, and by that I mean anyone who's got less than, let's say, 3 to 6 months under their belt of being an actively involved member of American Contingency, a remarkable amount of them had never actually done our onboarding introductory course for American Contingency. And we have a training. It's called the New Member Onboarding. And for those of you who are members, then this is going to be an excellent opportunity for me to walk you through something that you may not have done. And for those of you who aren't members, this is going to be an opportunity for you to get a little introduction to what would happen when you do become a member. Because again, very inexpensive. As of the shooting of this show, we're looking at $5 to $10 for premium or premium plus. And again, is this going to sound a bit like an infomercial? That's subjective to your perspective. But what I think is very interesting is that when people join, they hear about the community, they hear about the training, but then they don't spend enough time. And again, that's what's enough. Let's just say that there's a bit of exploration that needs to occur whenever you first join. The saying you get out of it what you put into it is very relevant when it comes to American Contingency, because there are people who actively thirst for an opportunity to teach you the things that they know, from somebody up in the Northeast who will teach you how to make bread to somebody out in the Southwest who will teach you how to make a fire with a lot of wet materials. And yes, is this information available on YouTube? Sure. If you know how to use the right search criteria, you can find anything on YouTube. Do you have the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with someone who has a lot of experience in our 12 categories? That really is the benefit of being an actively involved member of American Contingency. It's that you're not just left to your own devices trying to figure this stuff out, that there are people who will actively seek to guide you if you want to know more about communications or medical, security, mobility, food and water, income and economics, health, community leadership, outdoor skills, situational awareness, defense, and lastly, home and family. Every single month, I write 3 blogs that come out each week, so that's a total of at least 12, and some weeks have a 5th week, where we take the main subject of that month, and this month it's income and economics, and then I take and write out all the blogs based on how communication is relevant to income and economics, and home and family is relevant to income and economics. So each one of the blogs is like a mini training in and of itself, and it's giving you a lot of really good information that, again, could you go Google it some other places? Sure, but would you like to have a place where it's all very succinct and laid out for you, and there's people who will actively answer your messages? that is one of the beautiful benefits of being a member of American Contingency. And Tom Rigsby, our executive director, he's been on the show. We love him over here. He's the one who built out our website. And for those of you who are familiar with Facebook but may not enjoy Facebook anymore for a number of reasons, and to each his own, but I will just simply say that the way we have built the back end of the membership site, so how you would get involved with the groups, how you would communicate with people who are in these groups and who are also members of American Contingency. The layout is going to be very familiar to you if you have any experience with Facebook. And again, we are not associated with Facebook, but certainly we noticed how easily it is for people to move around that site, at least before all the ads and all the nefarious stuff that they do on the back end. We don't do any of that stuff because we understand that people's privacy and people's integrity matter. And so what we've done with our membership site is become very forthright with the way that we have people introduce themselves, how we have people interact with one another, and it's all done through a beautiful vetting process that I'm going to discuss here in a moment. So when you become a member and you go into the groups and you go into the courses, you're going to notice a familiarity. If you've got, it's not just Facebook, guys. Almost all of the social media apps use a very similar layout where the buttons are very easy to find and how to navigate is very obvious. And that is what we have created over here because Tom loves coding and therefore he coded this entire website. So hooray for him for doing that for us. Now we have an opportunity to communicate within our own social network that does not have any kind of connection outside of our membership site. So you know that what you share is only going to be viewed by other people who are members of American Contingency. So there is that privacy that a lot of us seek to not have everything about us being plastered all over the internet. Here we are our own little island. When you come onto the American Contingency website, you are in your own little world with us, and nothing leaves this little world that we've created. And that's how we can make sure that we honor your integrity and your privacy, and we're able to maintain the security of our network. So I really want to take this episode and discuss the new member onboarding. For those of you, again, who are members who haven't taken this, you got to go over and check it out. I have been working with the company now for 2 years, again, because Tom Rigsby's a relative, and we've all discussed that before. And I hadn't even gone in and completed the new member onboarding. I got into it and dabbled and sort of peeked around the website, but my focus was on the social media side and on the blogs and then ultimately the podcast, which I host now. And I didn't really go in and try to figure out what it was I was missing. And having a conversation with Tom the other day about my primary feed where people that I'm following, their posts would show up, I was like, it doesn't seem like there's much action on this. I get like the same 4 people every day. He's like, it's because you're not following anybody else. He's like, have you even taken the new member onboarding course? And I'm like, yeah, I started it like 2 years ago, but I don't think I ever finished it. And his response, paraphrasing here, was clearly, because if your feed only has 4 people, you didn't do any of the things that I trained you to do in the training. So I went through and I poured myself into this training. It doesn't take a long time. I honestly think that max it may have taken me an hour, and that's just because I got really interested in all the different groups and started joining them and started going in there and reading what people were posting. So let me walk you through our new member onboarding training. And again, for those of you who aren't members, now you're going to get an idea of what your experience will be like when you do join. Come back to this episode and listen to me walk through it if there's anything about the training that isn't absolutely clear. And I'm going to tell you, Tom did an excellent job on building this training out. It is very clear and it's very easy to follow. And when you open it up, and you're going to, when you first join and you've logged in and all that jazz, over on the left-hand side is online courses. And the very first one is the AC100 new member onboarding training. So it's very easy to find, not at all difficult. And once you get to it, there's this really cool video at the beginning that sort of runs us through a bunch of different values and commitments that you're making by becoming a member of American Contingency. You'll watch that video. It's super fantastic. It's like he has this little typewriter sound as it goes through. And again, it lays out values and commitments that you make as a member to American Contingency. Then the very first training module is the introduction to the vision, the mission, and the values of AmCon. So what we don't cover in that first 6 minutes of the video with the cool typewriter sounds, then we go into our vision, where we envision a network of people in teams building the skills, the resources, and confidence to persevere through difficult times. Our mission is to inform, equip, and connect, prepare, respond, and recover. And again, now we're shifting that to prepare, grow, and share. We go through our values of trust over fear, respect over contempt, personal responsibility over blame, community involvement before criticism, and a deep understanding that you are not alone, that no member of American Contingency is alone, that we're in this together, and we commit to supporting and assisting each other when necessary. From this, we give you a really cool action section where we ask you, how prepared do you feel today to face anything that life may throw your way? Do you feel that AmCon is going to help you? Thinking about the vision, the mission, and the values above, how do you feel about your decision to join AmCon? What we want are people who actively want to be involved in growing their community, growing their family, growing themselves in such a way that when a tornado is about or a hurricane's approaching, or other people in the neighborhood are concerned that they don't have enough water and provisions if they lost electricity for 7 days, that you'd be the person to say, hey, I actually know a lot of stuff about that. Let me teach you some of the things that I've learned, and let's see if we can all be prepared together. A lot of this really got instigated by me to get more involved in the back end of this website when about a month ago we had very bad storms, and one of our next door neighbors texted my girlfriend and was like, hey, we hear there's tornadoes in the area. We're going to go up to the local elementary school and hunker down in their gymnasium because that's like our emergency zone. And we're sitting there watching TV, and neither one of us have any intention of not watching TV. Like, I'm good. If there's a problem, Tom Rigsby will text me. So she looks over at me. She's like, what should we do about this? Do you think that they should get in their car and drive to the school? And I was like, no, I don't think they should do that. But I will text Tom, and Tom's always watching the weather, and he's connected. So let's see what he says. And he goes and starts sending me off all these really cool radar images. And he's like, nope, the tornadoes are 8 miles away. They're moving away from you. You're good. Don't move. Don't leave. And so we texted our next door neighbor, who texted other next door neighbors. And it turns out that through the connection our next door neighbor had with us, that she was actually texting all the other neighbors in the cul-de-sac, and we were able to alleviate concerns that they had because of the information I was able to receive from Tom. And he was receiving this information from, yes, a YouTube channel he watches, and you can go back to one of the previous episodes where I did talk about that. And he also has apps that are on his phone, and he's got communications happening within the AmCon network that you would have access to. So we were able to alleviate a lot of stress and anxiety and worry within our own cul-de-sac simply because of my affiliation with American Contingency. That's what we talk about when you join, that you are not alone. And so as you go through this training, it's just an opportunity for you to really get a grasp of what it is that we stand for. Again, we're not making you do anything. We want you to actively choose to be involved. This episode's just explaining how easy it is to learn how to get involved, because it can seem a little overwhelming when you come onto a brand new site. And yes, your first week or month might need a little bit more attention to our website to fully understand how to navigate it. But once you've figured a lot of this stuff out and joined some groups and began communicating, everything will become very fluid, and it'll just become a normal daily or bi-daily habit to just check in and see what's going on in the network. Once you get through the introduction and our vision and our mission and our values, you can join a regional group. And the next module talks about you joining the regional group that is affiliated with wherever you live. And this is something that's super cool about what we do here, is that we've broken down the entire country into 6 primary regions so that you will be able to have access to a specific region where people are going to be going through a lot of the same things as you, right? The storms that are happening in the Northeast are not going to be the same kind of things that are happening in the Southwest. So we broke it down based off North, Northeast, Northwest, South, Southeast, Southwest. And then we also have an AmCon worldwide because we do have members who are outside of the United States. And so you first thing would want to join your region. And for me, that's the Southeast. I live in the SEC, North Alabama, but I used to live in Southwest. I lived in California for 13 years. And before that, I lived in Florida and Indiana. So depending on where I live, I would want to make sure that I'm joined to the region that obviously I live in. And real simple, just hit join group and then you're set. From there, you can go into, for me, I'll just walk you through the Southeast. Then you're able to go into the Southeast where we have subgroups. And now you're able to join a state. And then from the state group, I can join a county group. There's 3 different ways that I can be connected to my local chapter, my state chapter, and my regional chapter. And then, of course, the website gives you access to a plethora of people from the nationwide as well. So once you join in, you get to tell us a little bit of your background, what attracted you to AmCon, what experiences that you have, or perhaps knowledge that you'd like to share within those 12 categories I rattled off earlier, and then other interests that you might have. We give you an opportunity to connect to your regional coordinator, and through the connecting with your regional coordinator one, there's actually a personal threat assessment. And this is really cool. And we're introducing this straight out the gate. And this asks you if there was the purpose of the personal threat assessment worksheet is to help you organize your understanding of the threats you face during the prepare phase, right? Prepare, respond, recover, prepare, grow, share. Now we give you an opportunity to think about what threat you might have. In the Southeast, we have tornadoes, we have flooding, and we have hurricanes. Any one of those 3 could be great. What is the probability a tornado could impact me, my family, or my community? A lot. Because literally it just happened like a month ago. And then we ask you, under all of the categories, but specifically in here, food and water, power and electricity, shelter, security and rest, information, communication and situational awareness, mobility, health and medical, your home, your earning potential, your economic viability. How about personal supply chain, right? Now, how would a tornado impact my supply chain? Would I be able to get to the nearest store to buy my provisions? What are some things that would mitigate the severity of a tornado hitting, right? And mitigation is this action of reducing the severity, the seriousness, or the painfulness of something. So if a tornado hits my neighborhood, what kind of provisions could I have in place to reduce the impact from this, right? We want to be thinking about contingencies. What are my capabilities? What is the power or my ability to do something? What is it that I know about cooking outside or being able to keep my refrigeration cold if I go a few days? I remember Tom telling a story one time where he literally duct taped his box freezer closed, and that was able to maintain the frozenness of his foods for the 48 hours that the electricity was off, and he didn't have to lose hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of food in his box freezer. One of the things he'll say in that introductory video that he does is be the leader your community needs you to be. Right? Many hands make light work. So when you think about your threat assessment, what might happen in your neighborhood, your county, your state that could possibly affect your shelter, your security, your rest, any of these things. This is important to know. Okay, I'm a huge fan of football. And recently a football player whose name I do recognize, Reggie Cobb, he used to play for the Packers and then for the Jets. His house burned down, I think it was yesterday, in Nashville. And it started in the garage because of some sort of, the Tesla caught it on fire and his whole house burned down. And his wife was like, we barely got out of there, with the shirt on our back, but definitely no shoes on our feet. And one of it, Reggie Cobb ran back in the house to save the dog. Well, did they have their passports, their birth certificates? Did they have important documents in a fire-safe box? If they were supposed to be running out the front door, was there anything important that they could have had prepared in the closet that's usually right by the front door that they could have grabbed? These are the kind of threat assessments that you have an opportunity to really ask yourself and really be mindful of. We never know what's going to happen, but we want to be as prepared as possible. And a lot of that preparation can come from not just learning and hearing about things, but talking to other members who've experienced it. And in many cases, we can put you through trainings, maybe not of your house burning down, but certainly of how you might grab important documents or train you on how you might put important documents into a box that's waterproof, fireproof, etc. And now you're able to get up and go whenever you need to. And these are things that I had not really thought about until recently, when the girlfriend's pulling a bunch of shoes and jackets out of the closet that's by the front door, because we think that that's the most secure place to be in our house if a tornado hits. And she's like, I don't really feel like we're too prepared, because it took me a minute to yank everything out if we needed to get in here on the quick. So we started to readjust what we put in that closet and how quickly it all could come out if we need to be able to hunker down inside that closet. And there's 3 of us in the house. How quickly could 3 of us get in there? So we practiced actually how we would position ourselves so it would take the most minimal amount of time for us to be able to get in that closet. And we ran through it a few times, and now we all feel very comfortable getting inside of a tiny, tiny closet very quickly if that's what needs to happen. The 4th training in the new member onboarding is going to talk about vetting. Now, this is something that is really interesting about our organization, is that through the process of onboarding, you have the opportunity to vet yourself so that we all know who you are. And this is something that you have to voluntarily decide to do. But through that process, you will go in, you give us your social security number, and we run a background check on you. And this does cost like an extra 30-ish, I think it was $26 to do. But when you do that, you get one of those green checks, right? Like they do on social media, but you get one stating that you have been verified. And I know when I first did this the other day, I thought, well, this is a little off-putting, giving my social security number and having American Contingency run a background check, even though I've been associated with this organization for 2 years. And when I started to talk to some of the upper echelon, the administrators, and Tom and Mike Lott, who runs the regional coordinators and such, it really came down to this idea that we're here to create trust and safety, that we're looking to demonstrate a willingness from everybody to be trustworthy, to vet themselves so that we know who's joining the organization, right? Now we know that there's nobody with a history of violent crimes, child, spouse abuse, things of that nature, because we want to initiate that trust building, right? Before allowing people to have access to local chapters, members' homes, their families, because you're going to meet these people in real life, and they're going to want to know that they're safe and sound and that things have been done through the organization to make sure that everyone's been vetted. Right? It's this foundation of trust in the chapter, the area, the state, the region, because we want everyone to know that they can safely assist and be safely assisted by others within the community, because we've all done the background check. And to a T, you will notice that it's a very high amount of us that have gone through this vetting process. Similar to, vetting anybody that might want to join another organization, this is an opportunity for you to prove who you are whenever you join. There's that confidence in American Contingency as an organization. And again, it all goes back to safety for you, your family, and your community. And one of the cool things about this is that we have a lot of people who are law enforcement officers, people who are high-ranking corporate types who want to be a part of American Contingency, and they want to know who they're being involved with. So when somebody says, oh, well, you could have this organization or that organization infiltrate American Contingency, and then they could do something nefarious or usurp the authority or blah, 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 whatever, hypothetical you'd want to come up with, we're running background checks on people. So we know that we haven't been infiltrated. We know that everybody is here to be honest and trustworthy, to prepare, to share, to grow together. We're not worried about there being somebody in the organization from, a higher up government agency trying to infiltrate us because they think that we're up to nefarious no good. Unless nefarious no good is trying to teach people how to make their own bread, be self-sufficient, and perhaps water capture, so when there's a drought they can water their garden without hitting off the city supply whenever that's really expensive, and that water could be used for other purposes. And yes, in some states, water capturing off of your own roof and from your drainage system is actually illegal. It is beyond me to think about how hilarious it is, some of the things that this country will begin to lay down laws for. When we moved from California to North Alabama, we hired a moving company to do that, and they broke almost every single piece of furniture. They dropped our television and broke it, even though they were the ones who packaged it appropriately. I'm laughing so hard over here because when it was all said and done, they broke thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and they only had to pay us based off of like poundage, and there was even some stuff that they just basically said sucks to be you, and we got $78 from them. So the government won't actually lay down legislation to make moving companies not screw over their own customers. But we will pass a law that makes it illegal to have your gutters put water into a barrel. So, even just saying it out loud is hilarious. So that's the vetting process. If anybody has any qualms about that, again, you don't have to do it, but the likelihood that you're going to be invited to the local chapters or into other members' houses is going to be substantially reduced, because we just want to know who we're associating ourselves with. This is how we know whom our members are, and this is why when the FBI went off and started running their mouth and saying that we were a domestic terrorism organization, we all got a good laugh from that, because again, we have housewives teaching us how to make bread and how to can stuff, and we've got farmers and law enforcement officers who are teaching us how to make sure that we're secure and understand weapons and firearms training. Like, we are so far from nefarious. We are borderline Boy Scout, Girl Scout-esque is what I'm trying to say here. So it's laughable. Vet yourself. It's only a few hours more. It's a one-time fee, and now you get the little check mark. And I just wanted to discuss that, because when I first saw it, I was a little bit unnerved by why we would be doing that, but whenever I went and talked to everyone, it made perfect sense. And I think it's a really cool thing that we do as well. So if anyone's worried about who's a member, know that background checks would turn up stuff, and we have definitely had to reject some people because of their intentions of joining American Contingency did not align with our values and our mission statement and our desire to be of service to ourselves, to our families, and our community. So that is what will happen. Then it says the second week, and again, you can really go through these training modules rather quickly. Don't just blaze through them to get the little check mark on it, though. Actually do the things that we're asking you to do. When you enter into the second week portion of this, you get your chance to introduce yourself to your group, and this can be your state, this can be your county, this could be your regional, it can even be to the national one, which is just where you could post things to the main board, but this gives you an opportunity to just say to everybody, hey, this is why I'm here, and this is why I'm excited about my opportunity to be a member of such an organization. Then the next module talks about getting involved in some of our interest groups. And this is really where there's some cool stuff going on. Now, I love being active in my regional, my state, and my county, because there's a lot of people chattering about cool things. Trainings on how to garden. There was a really cool one about that. Somebody in the Northeast literally just did an amazing bread training. It was super awesome. I wasn't there, but I've already talked to some people who weren't there. They said it was absolutely magical. Now they know how to make bread, but like super healthy, amazing bread. Like none of this ridiculous bread. Like, we're talking about some people who really know what they're doing over here. Then whenever you start to get into some of these other groups, what you're able to locate within them is these common interest groups. Are you interested in gardening? Are you interested in food and water? What are you mainly interested in? And how would you like to become more involved? We've got a group on weather and severe weather forecasts. So you obviously want to be a member of that one if you live in an area that's prone to tornadoes and really bad storms and flooding. We've got a whole common interest group about ham radios, where people who are all licensed and certified and have an extensive background in ham radios are here to discuss about cool ham radio stuff. We've got American Contingency trainings. We've got a whole interest group on mobility. We've got another one that's just about common interests. We've got one for women of AmCon, national operations, anyone with special needs. We have the ASAC group, which is a really cool opportunity for you to get involved in becoming more active in how we get information out to everybody, and what that might be like for you to be able to be a member of our ASAC group, where you're the one who will gather information and make sure that it gets posted to the website so that people can feel informed, right? This is part of our entire gist here. We're looking to inform people as much as possible. There's mentorship opportunities. We've even got an American Constitution study group. I think that that's super interesting that exists. And then from there, it's just a matter of what groups do you want to join? How active do you want to become? When you go over here into the common interest groups, there's even a subgroup. And that's one of the really interesting things, is that when you join some of these groups, there are subgroups. So within the common interest group, there are subgroups, and there's 33 of these. So we've got subgroups on survival skills, strength and conditioning, herbal medicine and natural remedies, farm and garden, security and defense, food preservation, firearms and shooting, water and water storage, hot topics and headlines, backcountry tips and tricks, mental resiliency training, how to make things. We got a whole one called AmCon Makes, recommended reading, energy and power, income and economics, drones and robotics. I'd be willing to bet in recommended reading 1 second after is one of the books that they talk about, because I read that book. Well, I listened to it. I'm an Audible dude, and I blazed through all 3 of those, and in fact the 4th one just came out. Found that one out the other day. So within the groups there are subgroups, and you want to make sure that whenever you click on one of the groups that you look up into the main menu bar, and where it says members, it will probably say subgroups for some of these, and this gives you an opportunity to look at some of the subgroups. And if you aren't joining some of these interest groups, and you aren't following people from your region or your state or your county or on the national level, of course, then you're missing out on an opportunity to see what they all post and what they're talking about and the trainings they're offering. Because if you don't feel like there's a whole lot going on in here, then it's because you're not looking around and you're not joining things. No one's making you type anything or respond, but it's certainly the opportunity is there. And if you're over here, doom scrolling on one of the mainstream social media apps, I would invite you the opportunity to come over here, and instead of doom scrolling, I feel like it's growth scrolling, where you're actually getting an opportunity to learn things from people who want to put a positive spin on life, who want to be optimistic. And I know in the quote-unquote prepping community, which we don't necessarily call ourselves, but we have definitely been called that. Some people think that it's a bunch of doom and gloom, and we're all talking about catastrophes all the time. Well, what happens if a road gets washed out and you're trying to get your kids to school? Well, have you thought about other ways of getting yourself to school? Or if you're trapped in your home because of an ice storm, have you thought about having enough provisions to make it a week? That's the kind of any given Tuesday problem we want to make sure that we help you resolve before you need a solution to it and you're stuck with 6 inches of ice on your driveway and you can't leave your house. So when we think about our interest groups, yes, it's going to be based on our categories. And again, those are communication, medical, security, mobility, food and water, income and economics, home and family, community leadership, outdoor skills, situational awareness, defense, health. And it's here. And it's amazing. And there's people actively involved. I mean, like thousands of posts are being made every single day. And you won't see all of them unless you join the group or you follow those people. So when you come on this site and you think there's not a whole lot going on, which I mistakenly said to one of my best friends here in Huntsville, and literally the executive director of this company, and he just chuckles and says it's because you're not being active enough. It was pretty powerful to go in here and just realize how much action's happening. All right, we're almost to the end of this. There's you connecting with 3 top areas of interest. Once you have located them, now we want you to join them. We want you to become members. Go in there. Again, introduce yourself, read up on what people have said, throw a comment down here or there. It's really fun to be actively involved with everyone who's in this. The next module is enrolling in a training course identified by your interest. And again, there's trainings galore in here. You really can't miss them if you're looking for them. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people will think, well, I've joined, now everything just needs to be brought to me. Well, we're not the instant gratification organization, right? If you have left and you're thinking about coming back and you were hoping that we were going to be the kind of people who were going to go guard a state capitol or, go do this, that, or the other, that's not us. We're not here for that. If you think that we're the kind who are just going to hand deliver you all of the answers that you seek without asking you to also be involved, reciprocating in that regard, we're also not that kind of organization. We want people who want to actively be involved, who want to create these kind of connections that will allow us all to be that leader that we want to be for ourselves, our family, and our community. Right? We aren't those other organizations that are going out and making a whole huff and guff and puff that are making the news. We're the people in the background who are preparing you to grow and to share so that you can face any kind of situation that the world may throw your way. Under the trainings, we're doing an adventure challenge. Every single region is getting together and doing this adventure challenge where we run you through a couple different training techniques per the 12 categories. It's like this awesome obstacle course. It's set up in the woods. It's absolutely fantastic. If you are a member and you aren't doing your regions, I just strongly suggest that if yours hasn't already happened, that you go find the date and you do it. I have no doubt this is going to become a yearly thing. It's been absolutely fantastic. Everyone who's been involved has spoken extremely highly of it. As the year moves on, I'm going to get some of the regional coordinators who have helped organize it and some of the members who've actually participated in it. They're going to come on the show. They're going to sing its praises, not because I instigate it, but simply because that's how they feel about the Adventure Challenge. Also in the training, the basics of food and water, the basics of health, the basics of situational awareness. There's leadership, there's income economics, how to use ham radios and walkie-talkies, just a ton of that. If you are into ham radios or handheld communication devices, man, are we the organization for you. Mobility 101, the basics of ASAT, which again is this amazing opportunity to be involved in getting the information, right? It stands for AmCon Information and Situational Awareness Team. I'll say that again 10 times fast. AmCon Information and Situational Awareness Team. And if you're a member of this team, then you're the person who gathers information and helps everybody become situationally aware of what's going on in their nation, in their region, in their county, in their state, the whole jazz. And these are just some of the trainings. I haven't even begun to go through all of them, but I'm just not trying to sit here and turn this into a 45-minute long podcast. I want to make sure that all of you realize that when you join American Contingency, that it's like the world is your oyster. How involved do you want to be? That's what I want you to ask yourself. How involved do you want to be? When you first join, again, I would highly recommend that you get seriously involved and surf around here and be on board with more of the groups and the interests and finding out what's going on in your county, state, region, yada, yada. Because once you begin to turn this into a habit of checking in every day or every other day or so, then you'll find yourself, and we got an app, guys. We got an app. I know. I feel like I buried the lead on that. I feel like I should have said that at the beginning. We have an app. You don't just need to be using the website on your phone. No. We have an app. Yes, we are an app for that. AmCon's app is available to you when you become a member. And then you can access this stuff anytime you want. Instead of doom scrolling on that mainstream stuff and just being fed a bunch of whatever, you can come over here and you can take a training on your phone. You can go through your news feed and you can see what people have said. It's fantastic. And there's something I've been trying to figure out how to mention because I'm not really sure how to touch upon this, but I think it's important to note that there is an acceptance of everybody for who they are and what they can bring to the table, and we do not reject somebody simply because we don't necessarily have the same belief system or opinions as you. When you start getting thousands upon thousands of people together with this focus on preparing and growing and sharing and informing, equipping, and training, you're inevitably going to get people who want to live a different lifestyle than you. And we really want to make sure everybody understands that you can disagree with someone. You can listen to their point of view, but it does not necessarily mean that you condone it or you subscribe to it. And so you can believe a lot of things here, just as long as you're not here for nefarious reasons. And another thing that comes to mind, as I say, about allowing everyone to have an amazing belief system, and you be you and I'll be me, and together we'll come together and we'll, crack open a soda water over a campfire and share some awesome stories, is that if you're a religious person, if you lean into your faith, then this is an excellent opportunity to join an organization where a lot of our members lean into their faith. On my news feed, there are people posting about Bible verses on the daily, and regardless of whether I am or am not exceptionally religious, it's here. Bring it. Say it. You are welcome here, and no one's going to judge you. No one's going to block you. It is what it is. You can be very religious and love the Bible and want to post some things and be uplifting, and you don't have to read the Bible at all to be a member. We just ask that whether you are into the Bible or you're not so much into the Bible, that you embrace other people who are the opposite of you in that regard. Because I'll tell you what, at no point have I felt like anybody is trying to convert me whenever they post these really cool things. But there's some people who post some really cool inspirational stuff on here, and they get me thinking. And the verses and the way that they connect it to being prepared to respond and recover, and just understanding that the world around us might feel like it's fallen apart, but together we are strong. Right? Together we are strong. It's like that. What's the old metaphor, like we are as strong as our weakest link, like we are a chain. And if you think that you can just continue getting prepared in your own little way in your neighborhood and think that Other people around you don't know that you're the bright one, that you're the prepared one, that you're the one with answers. Man, you do not understand how much other people are watching you on their street. There's a woman in my cul-de-sac who I swear I have no idea how this woman always seems to be awake when I'm out and doing something in the yard, but I stay up till like 2, 3 in the morning working sometimes. And that's when I'm taking out my garbage cans, or that's when I'm riding the exercise bike in the bonus room upstairs, which has a window that faces her house because she's across the street. And then a few days later, girlfriend will come to me and be like, yeah, so apparently our next door neighbor was watching you exercise bike at 3 in the morning and she thinks you're insane because who exercise bikes at 3 in the morning? And my question back was, who the heck is looking out their window at 3 in the morning? But she is, and you think that she doesn't notice how prepared I am over here and how much answers and how much knowledge I have about making sure that I'm taken care of. So yeah, am I talking to her about ways of becoming more prepared? Am I asking her like, hey, when those tornadoes went down the other day, how prepared do you feel like you would have been if we'd have lost electricity? And when she says not very prepared, I say, well, what are some ways that you might think you could get prepared? Well, I'm not really sure, but, maybe having some water, having some food that, doesn't require any kind of electricity to cook it. Maybe a way that we could, cook things on our grill. Well, great. Cook things on your grill. Sounds like you might be trying to open up your fridge. And if we're out of electricity, you may not want to open up your fridge. So what are some other options, right? That these are the conversations you can have simply by saying, hey, this thing went down recently in our community. What is your level of preparation? Had it affected us more than it did? And this is what I want to stress upon you as I close this out. That it's not just about you becoming a member of American Contingency. It's about you noticing how involved we offer you the opportunity to become, about how much you get involved and you join the chats and you join the interest groups and you get involved on our message boards. And then as you begin to grow, we want you to share this to other people in your community. We want you to talk up to this American Contingency and what we bring to the table with other members of your family, with your next door neighbors, with the person down the street or some people at work, with other parents in the PTA, whatever it might be. This is not something that is a guarded secret, which is very interesting. 30-second story. So I also do an addiction recovery podcast called From Sobriety to Recovery that helps people with their addiction recovery. And I told the name of the show to a friend who hasn't talked to me in years, but knew I was involved in the addiction recovery community on Facebook. And she actually sent me a Facebook message, was like, would it be okay if I share your show with other people in addiction recovery and my mom? And I'm like, yeah. I'm a publicly known entity. I'm one of the top 2% of podcasts on addiction recovery. Please, the more, the merrier. That's how American Contingency is. We don't want to be a secret. We want it to be something that you feel confident talking about with other people. And when you don't know how to bring up preparation and growing and sharing with other people, we want to help guide you in some of the things that you can say so that other people realize how important this stuff is. Because you clearly believe it's important, or you wouldn't have made it 43 minutes into a podcast about it. So do other people in your life understand how important this subject matter is? That is absolutely important. Because if everybody else is thirsty and they're banging on your door, are you going to be able to turn them away when they start crying? Or after 3 days or 7 days or 14 days without electricity and everybody is really starting to get hangry, they start to really bang on your door, what are you going to do then? Because I know a lot of people like to say, well, I'm not too worried about that. I got all the weapons in the world. I'm like, do you really want to pull a shotgun on your neighbor? Because at some point, you're going to want to see them in the front yard and not have them remember that time that you threatened their life because they hadn't had water in 2 days. Knock on their door. Knock on another neighbor's door. Knock on another neighbor's door. Ask them to join a neighborhood watch. And in the process of joining that neighborhood watch, you can discuss ways that they can prepare, ways that they could grow through the collective sharing of all of your knowledges and experiences. American Contingency is here to show you the way on so many of these things. But you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. And I know I said that at the beginning. I even made jest of it. But it's of the utmost importance that whenever you join, you realize that you got to get in here. You got to get on the website. You got to start messing around in here. You're going to find cool people that you enjoy communicating with, and from that will become the relationships that have you staying on as a member years and years and years from now. And even when you think you know everything under the sun, there's always something you haven't heard yet. A fool and a wise man meet upon a path. Who learns more? The wise man, because the fool never listens. Whenever you have fully understood what all that American Contingency has to offer, I have no doubt you will be ready to shout from the rafters about how vital this has been in your informant and your equipping and in your training. So when you're ready to prepare, to grow, and to share by building the skills, the network, and the confidence to be ready for whatever comes next, join us at AmericanContingency.com. We're here. We've been here, and we're ready for you to join. We want to show you how to become involved so that you can feel the resourcefulness of the network that so many of our members embrace each and every day. It's your choice to join. It's your choice to become involved. All of it is your choice. Choose wisely. We'll keep the fire going so you can find your way. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.